Hey, it's Djemini. Welcome to the 5225 podcast. I'm here with the 6th producer of the year, Spitt the Kid.
Hello.
I'm super excited to share our songs and the stories behind them with you. And I think a fun place to always start is our backstory, how we met, and then how we started working together.
True.
And then we'll dive into the tracks from there.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I think I'll flip it to you for how we met, because it's a cool, fun story that was so rooted in music.
True. Yeah. Well, I was just playing bass for Victoria Djalousy, and we were playing So Far. Yeah. It was at this winery. It was a super small, intimate show, and I pulled up early, and Djemini pulled up early because he was playing the same bill, and we chatted a little bit before the show, and I really had no idea what you were gonna do. Yeah. And then I played my set. I think you played after, and yeah, the whole time I was like, oh damn, like this is all sick. It was just you and a guitar. You didn't have a backtrack or anything, but I was like, this is super dope, and especially with how friendly you were, I was like, you know, maybe eventually we'll make something together.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and then it wasn't until almost like a year later that we actually did work together.
Yeah, that was early 2024.
Yep.
So that was right in the middle of the Just Upon rollout.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to be playing those songs like freshly right as we were rolling them out.
Yeah.
And then having the vision of like what they could be with a band.
Yeah.
And at that point I still hadn't got a band together, but I was, on the way to making that happen, and just like, meeting you and Djalousy there was so cool. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, these are just cool people and very talented musicians, and I love building more music community around, and so yeah, man, it was the next time we saw each other was at that show that we did, that outdoor festival, at Rogue Brewing. What was it? The Dead Guy Festival or something like that.
Dead Guy Festival, yeah.
And our boy Avalos was performing there, and you were playing with him. And so we saw each other. We were like, "Oh, dude, what's up?" And
it was right after you shaved your head, bro.
I know. Well, it was the before I did the full buzz. It was when I did like the medium haircut. Do you remember that? That was like in between.
Right.
And I hadn't shared with anybody yet. And and even though I had my hat was my disguise, I was like, okay, it needs to be revealed at my show, which is like in 2 days from that point. Mm-hmm. And I was like, nobody can know. Mm-hmm. And as a fellow long hair brethren, he clocked it right away. He saw that I didn't have a bun anymore.
I was like, yo.
And that I didn't have a hair, on my side. And he was like, oh, dude, you cut your hair. I was like, bro, you can't tell anybody.
On the deal, though.
But then, we just caught up and we chatted. It was fun. Mm-hmm. And I think we both just really enjoyed, our sets, and it was fun. It was a dope stage. And their sound system there was phenomenal. I don't know what they were using.
There wasn't a lot of people, but like they really had a setup.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so that kind of just reminded me. I was like, man, this guy's dope. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward to the end of the year, it was we had a session for some of the Avalos songs. And he was like, hey man, he and I had hung out a couple of times, and he was just like, bro, like your ear, I really would love to have that, in some of my songs, and who knows where that could go. Yep. And so man, I came over here. This is my first time coming over here, and I was like, wow, what a cool spot. And dude, I love the space. I love how you just like curated the vibe in here, and so I instantly felt like called to, I think, we could add this thing, or you guys mind if I grab the guitar, or all these other things. And even as he and I were recording just a couple weeks ago, we were listening back to Confused, and I forgot that I had laid the guitar at the end of that, and I was like, that's my guitar. That's right. And so it was super cool, and from there, man, I was just like, wow, that's so cool. And he had asked me afterwards, he was like, bro, how can I thank you enough for all these things? And I was like, honestly, dude, just be in Spitt's ear and telling him that we got to work together. And
it happened.
Then sure enough,
shout out Avalos.
Yeah, man, shout out to the boy.
Shout out Junior.
And it was just so cool how it just all lined up right. It was at the beginning of the year. It was January. The rollout had started, and I just felt so good about like being in a really new creative space with everybody that I'm working with. And yeah, man, so that turned into the first session. Literally got right to it, wasted no time.
Yeah, it was like a couple weeks later, maybe. Maybe not even.
No, it was so cool. We came in first night, I was like, yo, we don't even know what we're gonna do, but we shared a bunch of references back and forth, just music that we like, and we made Flaunt that night.
And 6 hours.
It was a super, and that was almost how about all 4 of these went. It was one main session where we went completely from scratch all the way to finished song, like structure, song, lyrics, vocals laid down. And that was really cool. So I think that's a perfect place to dive in. Then we can dive into Flaunt and like more about that song and kind of how it came about, and then some other cool nuanced things that that make it stand out. I mean, Flaunt, I think what helped Flaunt a lot was the references that we shared back and forth before we even started. Like, I remember spending at least a week. We had a shared playlist, and we just added different things that we were both listening to at the time, like R&B stuff, but a little bit like weird and experimental stuff. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Yeah,
totally. And I think that really influenced where we went with that, and then. We started with the guitar there. I'm pretty sure
we did. Yeah. I think it was just
usually start with guitar.
I do. I'm guilty as charged. We just started playing the acoustic, and it was that boom doom dum, boom. From there, the whole thing kind of just opened up. From there, I think you started to go into drums.
True.
And then we just really caught a vibe. And once you had that down, that really informed where we wanted to take the rest of the song. And it was really funny too, because a couple years ago I tried playing bass, and then I gave up on it because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't have anybody to teach me. At the time I didn't know any other musicians, so I was like, I give up. But then he was like, bro, play some bass while I'm working on these drums.
Oh, right.
And I was like, oh, bro, like I don't really play bass like that. And he was like, man, you're good enough with a guitar. Just play some bass, bro.
It's the same.
Just play some bass.
You got a low E.
And so I was like, okay. And then it really hit me that over the last 2 years I've learned a lot about guitar. And so then I was kind of like, oh, I actually can do some kind of thing here. And found that kind of pentatonic that I would play if I was playing on guitar, and I just played that as the bass line. And then that instantly, once I did the then that instantly was what informed the vocal melody.
That was the whole song right there.
And then everything else just flowed so naturally. As soon as we had guitar, drum, and bass, I mean, that's the key ingredients, right? Then we were able to add all the other cool textures and sounds and sonics, and you were working on a whole bunch of really cool nuanced things as I was writing, and that was a super fast writing session. And
that was one of the fastest sessions in general I've ever had. Like we started with nothing and we ended with the whole song, a bunch of even little ear candy automations and weird sounds and stuff, and all the vocals, all the harmonies, everything in one night. It was crazy. It's
really fun because I like to work fast. I like to work in that way. I've been fortunate that I have a lot of friends and producer friends, musician friends who are on that same type of time that we can make a song, in the matter of a few hours. And I like it to be really free flowing. I don't like to overthink it. I think, going with your gut. At this point, everybody that I'm working with, we're skilled enough. We've been doing this long enough to be able to, trust that and know that it's going to be not only a really authentic version of what, you can make, but also something that you can't repeat if you're going in, trying to think and be too clinical, or with I need to get this line to do that thing. And there's some people who I have mad respect for who write that way, but I think that when you let it flow and you're able to make something fast, and I'm grateful that that I've been able to, that I have some of those gifts, but I've also honed that skill. That you were working as fast with everything else, that it was we were pacing each other,
right,
and it allowed it to get to this point that we really wanted it to be. And so I think that's a perfect place to talk about some of the other cool things in the track, and some of the unique elements that make that song really stand out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I think we laid everything down really quick. So, like, I think over the very next day, I just spent some time, like, just editing, getting all the timing right. And that's when I was like, holy shit, this track is something really special. Really, really good. Yeah. Because it was a good demo, but it was just a little bit loose.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
I think got it so right that I forgot about that. Yeah.
The second edit was like, damn, that was good. It wasn't mixed or anything, but the edit was like, okay, this is sick, because everything was on beat and it had the bounce and stuff. But yeah, and then man, yeah, we got the guitar, we got the drums and the bass, which ended up influencing the vocals. But then we had that little synth line that came through. The wubs,
baby.
The wubs, yeah.
The wubs.
Yeah, that was super fun, and that was that was kind of what we were looking for with mixing like some classic R&B with like some weird experimental, almost EDM like electronic type stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's where that really came in and came through. But what was that? Oh, the mommies, and then actually that that came first. Yeah, we did that in the first night. The mommies.
Yeah.
Just taking vocals, reversing them, making them strange and weird, and adding them sort of like a riser.
Yeah. I've talked about it in almost every episode, but majority of my songs have a reverse guitar as a riser.
True.
And we do have that in this song, but I think the thing that took that up a notch was the reverse vocals, and that
on
gave
top
it
of the guitar. Yeah,
exactly. That gave it this crazy swelling feeling that kind of takes you along the journey of the song that I love. And as we got that, it really opened the door then to other synth textures that really made this huge and really brought it to that next level. Was when we started to add, a lot of the other synths and stuff like that. It was like, whoa, now this song has this crazy movement. And yeah, man, I love how dynamic it feels, and how I feel really in my pocket vocally in that song. There's nothing too, like, there's no vocal acrobatics or anything, but I think that where I'm at in that kind of lower breathy register is where I like a lot of my songs, where I know a lot of people have liked my music as well. And so trying to stay in that and have fun with that, and then allow the other parts of the song to kind of serve that and let that vocal really shine. You did so many things that allowed that to come to light, man. And I'm so appreciative of that, because of the way that this song evolved. Like, when I play it for people, they're like, whoa, like this feels like you, but it was exactly what I wanted, right? Where it feels like some classic R&B stuff. It's Djemini guitar with Djemini breathy vocals. It's like nothing new. But then what's new is all the wubs and the cool synths and the different risers and textures that we use through the song, man. So I'm just hyped on that.
I love that. I'm so glad we started off with that one. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that song is sick. It's one of my favorites out of the whole project. That one and Cry For Me, which we'll get into later.
Oh, yeah.
Those are my two favorites for sure.
Nah, dude. It was a lot of fun kicking it off with that. And that, you never know when you're working with somebody for the first time what your working dynamic is going to be like together.
Straight up.
And so when we made Flaunt, that was really just like us kind of feeling things out and testing the waters to see if, like, are we going to do a whole project together. And after he sent me that edit, the next day or whatever it was, I was like, oh yeah, we are.
Yeah.
It was so clear for me once he had the song in a really good place. I was like, if we can do that in just one night with a little bit of, little tweaking, then we're definitely going to make some more really cool stuff. And
I was so hyped about that. Yeah.
Bro, yeah.
Sounds like I was listening in the car and all that. Yeah. And then, and then it was only a week later when we made this second track. And I think we were both feeling pretty confident at that point, like going into it.
Oh yeah, man. And that was really cool. We got in this weekly cadence where allowed us to stay so consistent and to refine what we wanted to do by getting together every Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it was just so fun. I'd come over at 6 and by midnight we'd have a song. And like we did that 4 times.
Yeah.
And the songs were ready. All the other times I came over were for other cool, whether it was mixing or whether it was we're shooting something or whether we're just hanging, all this stuff. It was that consistency is what allowed these songs, I think, to become as great as they are. And that's a perfect way to jump into Neckbreaker, man, because that song, we've talked about this to each other before, but we came in trying to make like a slow ballad.
Yeah, that's right.
You remember? And then we were like, okay, we're gonna make something that's like a little slow and in the pocket and groovier and all these things. And then I don't even remember how we started Neckbreaker. I think it was the same thing with the guitar, but with the electric this time. And then just the chords that I started to play and the vibe, you were like, oh, I like that. And then we're like, well, that's not slow at all. But we like it, so let's rock with it.
No, you can't fight it, especially when you're starting from scratch and something happens, like you have to catch it and go with it. You cannot fight that. Like the music will tell you what it needs, and
exactly.
And that's what it was telling us to do, is something a little more upbeat and different too, like a little bit outside of both of our comfort zones.
For sure, for sure. I think that was what is so cool about this song, right? Was as we finished it, it became really clear that this is what we wanted to start it off with, because it kind of has this arc of something that's really hype, high energy, and exciting. You see this girl, and you're just like, whoa, like I'm literally double taking Neckbreaker. What? Like, this is amazing. And oh my God, I totally forgot. I think it's worthwhile mentioning this on camera. The muse for that day, I came before lunch that day. I had a whole separate idea of what I wanted to do that evening. And then I went to go get Chipotle, as I do often. And
oh yeah, we gotta tell the story.
Yeah, and so I'm there, and I'm just taking my food on the go. I had a meeting I had to get back to, and so as I'm leaving, I'm walking out the door, and as I open the door, I look and I see this girl basically just glowing right there. And I was just like, oh, I should go talk to her. But then I looked at my watch and was like, no, I am already gonna be late. I'll have like 2 minutes to eat my food. So I was like, no, I gotta go.
It's gotta come meet me.
As soon as I got in the car, though, regrets. And I should have walked back to you. And that's where that all came about. So then as soon as I came over here, I was like, you know what I'm gonna write about tonight? I'm gonna write about this girl I saw at Chipotle that I didn't talk to, but that I wish that I would have.
I know the Chipotle you're talking about too. Yeah. I go to that Chipotle all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. No, it's hard to go wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really wish I did go back and talk to this girl. So the first half of the song, this was one that was written super fast as well. And the first half is really me retelling the story. And then the second half is, what if I had gone and talked to her? And I think that that's a really fun premise, that it kind of takes you on the journey of this song as well. And kind of opens it up to flaunt of like, okay, now in this hypothetical situation of I did go back and talk to this,
right,
certified neckbreaker, that then we are together, and like I want to show her off. I want to flaunt like our relationship together. And so it's not too often that I'll write from a purely hypothetical standpoint. A lot of the stuff is very autobiographical that I've written. But with Neckbreaker and Flaunt, it was just something about our energy together that and where I was at the time, emotionally, I guess, that opened itself up to writing something really fun and hypothetical and thinking about like, this is what I would like, a relationship to look like, and like a meet cute story to be like, and all these things.
For sure.
And so that's a little story behind Neckbreaker. I think I'll throw it back to you in terms of the diving into the production on the song.
Well, yeah, and I think ultimately that all of that came through with how the song turned out too. Just with it all being a journey, like there's kind of like an A section, a B section, and a C section, and they're all very different from each other. So it almost does feel like this whole arc leading into Flaunt, just like you were saying. But sonically as well, like we did this weird key change that we were almost uncomfortable with, and we had to sit with it for like a whole day.
We did.
And but yeah, we just started with like just a little 4 or 8 bar loop, and it was just a groove. We had some guitar, we had some drums.
You played bass on this one.
I think
it was kind of cool. We were playing in very much like a jam style setting where I was, playing guitar, and you were, laying down the bass, and then I started playing keys. Yeah. And it was really cool, to see just the way that you kind of jam. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. I think I did play the bass on this.
You did. I just remember it because we were like, you were playing and I was playing, and it was at the same time, that it felt like a jam. And that's some of my favorite things, is like whether it's with the band or whether it's just, with other musicians, where you get to really have like a classic style jam. There's something about that that's really unique. And I just loved the way that we got into it, and the track evolved, and that key change was strange, but then when we did it, we were like, is this right?
Right.
And we were like, technically speaking, it is. But it just felt so odd. But then as we started to mix the song and then kind of take it further, then we were like, oh, it's not only right, but it's great.
It is.
And it allows the song to take you on that journey of emotionally what I was going through when I saw this girl and all these other things. Like, it creates more movement. And then that C section that you had that kind of that opens it up and gives this real spacey feeling before jumping back in, I think was really important to allow the song to breathe. It's a little fast-paced, lyrically and musically, and so creating space and making the song really dynamic was important.
Yeah. Each section will continuously like just kind of bring you back in, and again, I don't think we didn't even plan that. Like the music just kept drawing us in and leading us there, and we didn't fight it. We just kind of went with it, and although it took us like day or maybe even 2 days to be like, okay, this is actually really dope, just because it was different, it was still that like at each section is like neck breaker, like wait, is that right? And I think that's really sick. That's where we ended up with the whole track too. And then like you were saying, that C section where it's just spacey and almost like a moment to like reflect, like as you're driving away, like damn, like fuck. And
what could have been?
Yeah,
what could have been?
Totally. And then to even like drive the point in further, after we finished all the songs, we came back and recorded the phone memos where we went out into my driveway and
sat in the car and we reenacted the whole scenario, because I was like, there's a cool, I really like moments in songs that break the fourth wall. If you're, by the time you're listening to this, all of the songs to Suave and I are out, and in each one of those, we have a moment where if it's a little, moment after we're done recording, or like a little skit type of situation, or something where it's more conversational and these other things that just give this humanity to the songs, especially when they're a fun song, right? And this is such a fun, happy song that, and just, excited energy in there, that I was like, it needs to be me telling my boy about this. and I just thought it was so fun to get my boy on the track for a sec, like bro, are you there? Like that.
And it adds context too.
It does. I think that
for the vocals,
it tells more of the story of like, I just saw her and literally broke my neck to go and see this girl because she was walking by, and you and I are talking on the phone, and I was like, no, I gotta go because I gotta go talk to her. Right. And so that whole thing, and then being able to bring it back to the chorus, I think is really fun. And subject-wise, it's fun. I think it's a concept that a lot of people can resonate with. Of whoever you think is a baddie, that you see them and you can't help but double take. That you can that feeling, right? And so
and the regret. And,
if you don't go talk to somebody, so go talk to them. Yeah. If you're listening to this right now and you didn't talk to that person, shoot your shot, man. Shoot your shot. Because the worst that can happen is it just doesn't work out and you just keep cooking.
Exactly.
So
and listen to the song because you'll know exactly what we're talking about right now.
Indeed. Yeah. But yeah, man. Any other notes on the song that you want to touch? There's a lot of cool, like fun textures and things that we did in this one as well. With like the mommies. The mommies are.
You gotta explain that.
Yeah. So we just refer to like the mommies as like this group of all of these different sounds that we made, and we're like, look at all these mommies. And so. Yeah, I don't really know how that came about, but it just
that was a bad
that was a bad description. But it was like a group of things that you refer to. I know you have a context, but we just started. We'll spare them the whole story. But that's what we just that's what we phrased.
In this case, it was a group of the background vocals, and then we exported them, and then reversed them, and then made them like a riser, and then ended up calling them the mommies, and then we ended up making it a motif and adding it across the whole project. So we went back and the first song, second song, third song, and I think it's all of them.
Yeah, all of them have those in some, and some happened in real time.
Like a callback.
Some others, that we worked on after the fact. But with those, it was this really cool. Like the way that just happened, I think was this beautiful texture that serves as a different kind of riser. It's almost like a negative riser, if I could explain it in any way.
Yeah.
And as opposed to rising up, like it has the riser sound and emotion, but it goes down in a way. And that was just this fun texture to create these distinct sections. And man, there's a lot of really cool stuff in the track. And I forgot, I mentioned I was playing keys, but that was part of what I was playing that we kept in the track too, was the keys that I that played while you were playing bass. Like we ended up really grooving with that.
It was a jam. Fun, No, you're totally right. It was nice to sort of, like, that song felt more of like a jam. Like the whole thing was a little more live, less quantized, and I think that really added to the vibe of the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
And the dynamics of the whole track and the storyline. It's almost like a movie the whole time.
Totally, man. Yeah. I think the last thing.
Right.
The last thing I was thinking of on the song was how dope the drum fill is that we have in there.
Straight up, dude.
Yeah, man.
Straight up.
That gave it just this bigger feeling, this bigger movement, and kind of almost that, like, not that it sounded like a heartbeat, but almost kind of like that heart racing excitement picking up. Like I think emotionally that fill allowed, again, those elements of the story to really come through. And I just think that's so much fun.
That is the song of like special moments where there's just like you could listen back and hear something new every single time, and there's a lot happening there.
Yes,
I mean, even I guess we added like the foley. Like there's a lot. That's a whole movie of a song.
It really is. Yeah. It really is, and we just had a blast with it. And I think that after that, we were 2 songs in. We're like, okay, we've got a really good groove. We're 2 for 2 weeks in a row. This is epic.
Yeah.
And so what do we do next? And before we got to Cry For Me, I had an idea for a song that I had written. And we worked on a demo for it. Neither of us were, we liked it, but it didn't feel like it was to the level of what Neckbreaker or Flaunt was. And so we kind of just collectively like, hey, let's use the next week that I came after that. Let's use this one we can keep that in the tuck. Let's use this one to, to go and to, like just make it the best that we can be. And let's go big. Let's do something really big.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what was so cool, being able to, go right into Cry For Me with this like big, and that we finally got something that was slower.
Right, I was gonna say that's right. We were able to kind of accomplish what we meant to with Neckbreaker with the almost ballady, at least in the chorus, because the rest of the song is a little more R&B, but the chorus is for sure like a ballad. It's just like that acoustic guitar and your really intimate voice, just like singing to somebody, like you're in the room with them.
Yeah, I'm partial to this song because I think of the emotion in my vocals, but I think also it might be some of my favorite storytelling on a record ever. That it is, it's based on what a psycho version of me would do in a true story, but the person it's about, it's the same. Like this song is gonna go in the Songs About Whiskey playlist, which is a playlist I made for all the songs that are about the same person.
Right.
And
that's a whole nother story there.
From things from Just a Pawn to the latest songs of the band, to a couple other ones, to songs like Erase, like all of these, it has this through thread of the story of what happened with this woman. And so I felt like singing about that and talking about it, because we hadn't. The other two had been these, regardless of the track emotionally, they had been these fun hypothetical situations of meeting somebody and having a relationship. And this one, I was like, I need to dive deeper into something that's true to me and something I need to get off my chest still.
A little more real, yeah.
Yeah, and so the story, it starts with this real thing of, we broke up and I don't want you to be, with a new person. And then the second verse and the rest of the song, I just blow that out of proportion. And in the song, I kill this guy. And I've always been fascinated.
Allegedly.
I will not deny or confirm. I've always loved the idea of that, of being able to kind of make peace with something by killing it, in a sense. And for me, it was like, okay, well, how do I make peace with this scenario? What would like the Joe Goldberg, if you're a fan of You, what would like the Joe Goldberg version of me do? He would kill this guy. And so, because I love that show and I love things like that are really kind of twisted and psychotic emotionally, I thought that it would be really fun to build this narrative of like, she has no idea how he dies, but then she ends up getting back with me. And so that's my whole evil plan this whole time, was to do that. And I think it was just fun to spin this narrative and to kind of blow it out of proportion once again. And that was all of these songs were quick writes, but I think once I caught the vibe of what I wanted to write about, you were so in the zone of the production on this one.
Hell yeah.
And
I felt like it too.
Yeah, man, that it just good. Allowed me to just boom. I was on the iPad, just in the zone, and then I brought it over to you, and you were like, "Whoa, yeah, this is ready. Let's lay down vocals."
This was another really, really quick one. Like, it all came together really, really quick, and the keys were so fun. Like, and also another one we passed back and forth. Like,
yes.
A whole lot. Like, we were very collaborative on the production with this. Like,
very much
I
so.
would play one version of keys, and then we'd change the sound slightly, and then I'd pass it to you, and you'd play like the response to the call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
oh wow. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah. That was. We have some footage of it actually.
We do.
Should post that.
Yeah.
Because it was cool.
We've got a lot, and I still haven't even dove into. I've got BTS of every song.
I'm so excited to go back through it.
Dude, it's gonna be awesome.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
But I don't remember exactly what we started with on this, but
I'm pretty sure there was electric guitar on that one, and I started with the or I think it was like so
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
because
so
I
it was
do
a
remember
cool kind of pick with big strums,
Uh-huh.
and that led the way. And as soon as we got that, then we did it was kind of similar to Flaunt, actually, where it started with a guitar, we built drums,
Right.
and we added bass and keys and everything else,
Uh-huh.
and then we love. And I've always wanted to do a song like this where it has like an anti-chorus, where instead of
Right.
building up to the chorus, it strips everything back, and then we went acoustic for it.
Right.
And I thought the way that you can hear this cry for me as I'm kind of crying on the track, like, and that was great direction by you. We were like, I hear you like crying on this take versus that take, where like, how do we tap into that emotion as best as possible?
Totally. Yeah, we were doing takes, and then I was like, make it like almost a little more painful.
Yeah.
And then we ran a couple more takes, and God, you hit that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
And that combined with just that stripped acoustic, it just gives that feeling like it goes from this big production to all of a sudden you're like right there.
Yep.
And that is kind of haunting and intense, and like that's what I wanted in this song. I wanted it to feel so intimate in these chorus moments that if I was talking to this girl, I would tell her, I'm like, I want you to cry for me because you miss me, because all these things. And then the way that I flip it is like, you can cry to me instead of cry for me. After I kill her, boyfriend. Then she comes back to me and it's like, oh, you can cry to me. It's okay. Like, you have no idea what I did, but you know, I got you. I'm here for
toxic, bro. You're toxic.
Very toxic. Again, will not confirm nor deny the allegations. But yeah, you know, again, for this, like, I've loved artists who build this whole narrative and take you on it lyrically, take you on the journey vocally in different sonics in your voice. I think I've always loved, you know, slight variations of your voice, even if it's not like a full different character. Like, I love how Kendrick will go, you know, from different characters almost with his voice, and this song doesn't do that, but the concept of that is something I've loved for a long time. And so to be able to have something that's like really singing really big during these verses, and then to pull it back and almost have this very vulnerable character that's kind of pain and crying on the track in these chorus moments, I think was just really special. And
it almost brings you into the moment of writing the song where it's just you and an acoustic, and you just like singing it, and it's very vulnerable. I love that about this track. And then it goes back into more of a production and more of the storyline, and that second verse really brought it to life with all the Foley that we did of having, you know, the shovel sound when I'm digging, like dig this guy and leave him in the grave.
And the match strike, the gun cock sound, like all these other things that bring this second verse story that you might not catch it right away, but then as you're listening to what I'm saying, and then, you know, I bury this guy in the earth, you're like, whoa, this guy is a psycho killer. And so,
but it's still whimsical, and
it is. And I think that the Foley that we added really gave it that whimsical feeling. It was a little less intense, but it also made it really real. Like, you know, during the you know, shovel in the dirt sound, you're like, whoa, I'm really going on this journey with this guy, and it's a lot, but you know, I'm there, and that's what I wanted.
Totally. Which brings us to the final track.
And I think the last thing though before that was the solo moment on Cry For Me. Can't skip that.
We cannot
skip that.
Well, there's two kind of solo parts, because there was the vocal solo part as well as the guitar solo part, which we came back to, and it ended up so tight.
Thanks,
I'm so glad we did that.
Me too. So I was playing just kind of around. We found some cool distortion stuff, and my guitar knowledge is kind of capped, and I haven't dove in to really understand the fretboard as much as I'd like, but that's part of my pursuit. And hanging around great guitarists like Sal and James and all these people who can absolutely shred and do these crazy solos and all these things, and Nick too. I don't want to leave any of my guitar player legends off this list. All three of those guys are so amazing on guitar and have this crazy in-depth understanding of you know, guitar theory and you know, how to really move around the fretboard. And I'm learning. You know, I only know some basic pentatonic stuff right now, but even with that, as soon as we threw on like this distortion preset, it all of a sudden
we found the perfect amp tone.
It fit this vibe, and perfect. So I started ripping on some ideas and just getting a bunch of takes. And then, as I was taking the guitar off, like I was taking the strap off, like I was talking as I was doing that, and then you were like, "Wait, bro, hold on, grab it again." And because he could hear me speaking, and it went through the distortion that was through the pickups in the guitar. Right. And so he was like, bro, sing into the pickups. And so I'm holding the guitar in front of me like this and going, and basically like weeping through the distortion pedal in the guitar.
We just gave it a whole, I remember I cranked the gain and we just gave it a bunch of feedback, and then you just like held the guitar up and like sang into the strings. And fucking, dude, that was so
It
ended up being perfect.
And it was the perfect way to transition from that end of that chorus into the end of the song with the solo, because had it gone right into the solo, I think it would have been pretty abrupt. I think it would have been cool, but it gives us this like build up, and we added all this ambience, these city sounds, car sounds, all these things to kind of bring you into this environment as if you were in the city. And
it's very story-like. I think, I mean, I think that's kind of something I'm noticing through the whole thing, but I don't know why I didn't notice before, but we made the whole thing very... It's like an episode. Every song is an episode, like in a 4-part show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's... Yeah. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but we really focused on like every song, trying to make it like you were in the story.
Totally.
And make everything relevant and give everything some sort of context and all these ear candy moments. Like, it's all supposed to draw you in and keep you there. So...
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
that was so much fun, and I felt really confident. It was like that the night before that session, I felt like so incompetent on the guitar, and it was just one of those nights, where
I remember you talking about that when you first came in.
It's just kind of rough, and I was like, I might not play tonight, blah blah blah. The night before, I was in a session, and I just felt like I couldn't do anything, and that's where like my lack of music knowledge then really comes to the forefront when somebody's saying all these music specific things that I don't know, and then I'm kind of stumbling around, and I remember I finished that session, I was like, I'm never gonna play guitar again. And I was sad, but then that was like a really beautiful way of coming full circle to remember, okay, I am getting better. It's a constant process.
Yeah.
And being able to play that solo and have some fun with that and build this whole narrative with you that night and make such an amazing song really restored my faith in my abilities, and also remind me why I do this and the love that I have for it. And so once again, man, I just appreciate you for always opening the space for that, and then to be able to be so encouraging, because as I was playing that solo, you were just like so hyped, like like
you were
jumping and screaming around, and like that to me, when you're able to be around people who are so encouraging and see you for what you can do, and bringing out the best in you, that's always a really special thing, and you did that with every one of these songs, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And it goes to show you too, like, everybody has a little bit of that imposter syndrome or whatever you call it, and like you recorded all the guitar for every one of these songs, and every one of the songs, as far as I know, like up to this point, like you laid down most of that guitar, and still you felt that kind of like, man, I suck just because of one session, and then the next night we're sort of able to redeem it by just having good homies around and laying something dope down because of the energy in the room and the song and the story and all of that. So
yeah, man,
I'm glad I could facilitate it, but you're dope.
Thanks,
regardless.
Brother. Thank you, man. I appreciate that, and I hope that if you're somebody who's going through a tough spell, that this serves as a reminder that it happens to the best of us, and and I hope that listening to this, all of these songs give you that reminder to try something new, to work with somebody new, and that it's okay if you stumble, it's okay if you fall, it's okay if things don't sound perfect right away, or if you're still learning, and
the music will tell you what it needs. You just have to listen.
Exactly, and like you can make dope songs without having like the craziest knowledge. And that's
both of us here.
No, neither of us are classically trained. Neither of us
we're not the most advanced people we know by any means.
No, we know so many amazing musicians who have way more of an understanding than us. But like we have a understanding of each other, and we have an understanding of stuff that we like, and we have a great feel, I think, for a lot of what we like and things that we want to make. And so it gets me so excited to make more music, and I think that is a beautiful way to segue into this last song. And
True.
And I'll let you kick this one off, and then I'll get a little bit into the story.
I almost want to hear it really quick again.
Yeah, dude, that was we started it with the guitar, with the electric, and it was just this one that we wanted the drums to be knocking. It's like I expected. Another very story-based song.
Yes.
But the dream is gone. Suited with you, I'm ready. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, actually listening to this back, that kind of reminds me, the drums are almost a little like Portishead-y.
Yeah,
with just like the weird textures that they have.
For sure.
And I didn't even mean to do that, but I remember that. I think again we started with guitar on this.
We did, yeah.
and that instantly gave me sort of like that groove, and but it felt a little stagnant, so I remember I just kept adding textures and kept adding like these weird reverbs and delays and textures, and then it turned out a little bit Portisheady, but then I mean, obviously the rest of the song isn't really that, but the drums.
No, but that's a great point. I hadn't thought about that until you just said it, but that is a really great reference of kind of sonically where these drums are
for real.
And then this one was the fastest in terms of writing, and I remember it because it was probably 15 minutes, and you look over and you saw on my iPad that I had verse 3 written, and he just looks to the side and he goes, verse 3? And I was like, yeah, I had a lot to say. And this one, it was a tough one.
I was trying to catch up with you on this one.
Yeah. No, I was flying. Once I had the guitar laid down and you were cooking on the drums.
Yeah.
You were working on some other cool ambient things that kind of brought it to life and really refining the drums. And then I just went and just this whole song just absolutely appeared. Mm-hmm. And that's the beautiful thing, man, when you have something to say, and I'm so grateful for this medium, because I did have a lot of stuff on my chest that wasn't romantic relationship related whatsoever, which is very rare for me to talk about or write about. A lot of my songs are romantically charged, and I think with this one it was really important to get this off with the friendships that you think that you're gonna have forever that don't.
Go into what this song is about a little bit.
Yeah,
I think it's a cool story.
Thanks, man.
And it could give the song some context too.
Yeah, for me it was really weird going through college during the pandemic. That happened in the middle of my junior year, and I got closer with some people during that time, and I lost touch with people during that time, and then I graduated. And I'm like, okay, well, I lost touch with most people, but at least I've got people in my corner who I knew from college, other people that I was meeting outside of school that I felt like, oh, these are gonna be people in my wedding, and people who I my kids call aunt or uncle or whatever. And the song's not about any one specific person, but just more about the concept of those type of people that you feel like you're gonna have forever, and then all of a sudden they kind of just disappear. And it's tough when you're going and pursuing the thing that you love and that they encourage you to a certain point, and then when you start to have success in that they maybe feel a type of way, or they feel some resentment toward you because maybe you're doing it and they're not doing what they wanted to do. And I don't say that out of any like, oh, look at me type of way, but more of just that's a reality of life for so many of us creatives.
Right.
That going after what we're doing is really hard, and that everybody's going to support you until you start to go further than them. And then that's when more people are going to start to hate you for the things that you do because it's something that they can't do. And then on the flip side of that, then there's going to be a lot more people who love you because it's more authentic to you. But there's never going to be a ceasing of people who are going to judge you or to do you wrong. And I think that maybe it sounds like I'm coming from a really bitter place here, but I think it was really important for me to share that story, because even with that happening, those people leaving you do really open the door for new people who you were actually meant to be with, who may or may not be in your life forever, but that the more that you get closer to what the truest version of you is, the more it opens the door to more, really genuine and dedicated relationships. So that's a long way of me saying that I'm really grateful for all of the music connections that I've made, because a lot of the people who I thought would be my friends forever weren't musicians, and not all of my friends need to be musicians or creatives or all these things.
For sure.
But the people that I have connected with, many of which have been the people I've worked with this year, have really showed me how amazing it can be to be yourself unapologetically and not judge me for it, and not have some resentment building because I'm going after the thing. And that's what I appreciate about you and about so many other people. Like, you want to see me go as far as I can, and you've been so like.
That's because you've got it, bro.
Thanks, man. You've been so like genuinely supportive from when we met to now when we started working, and now that we have all these songs and they're about to come out. It's like it's such a special thing to connect with people who feel that and understand. And so once again, your openness and understanding to me allowed me to write a song like this and write it so quickly, and so that's like some of the context and backstory.
And that whole story is like what drew me to. I mean, even during the creation of it, what drew me to this song so much is like you did write the lyrics so quickly, so I was able to sort of hear what it was gonna be about while I was producing it, which was almost a little bit new because it's very rare that you start earlier with the vocals. You know, like it's usually the production and then the vocals, or at least a demo that has some instrumental, and then it guides you. But this was a cool opportunity where it was very stripped down. It was pretty much just like you were saying, guitar and some drums, and then I think I was making the bass as you were like writing and doing some more of that, because you like laid down the guitar really early, and then I was able to produce while you were writing. And I think that was what was really cool, is I was able to sort of follow the storyline of the song with the production, which was nice. But it really drew me in because I mean, obviously, I think we've all lost some friends and stuff, and yeah, I think that just really connected with me. So being able to make the chorus really big and emotional, and then the verses really like stripped down and intimate. I think it just served the story of the song really well. And
thanks, bro.
And again, it just came together so quick. Like every time, it just came together so quick. So it just made everything after the mixing, the mastering, like the feeling of the whole project together. It just made it all so easy.
Thanks, man.
It was all such a cohesive story, and everything was so. I don't know what the word is, but like individually it was just solid. You know what I mean? Like the story, the concept, everything was just solid every time. For 4 sessions in a row.
That's
you know
so
what
cool.
I mean?
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
I'm very proud of everything
how these
we
came
did.
together. Very proud myself, and yeah, like that collaboration has just been so beautiful, and I think that's just like a great way to kind of wrap this up, man. Of just these songs or these, you know, moments in life, whether it's this immense joy or immense curiosity or immense pain. Try to tap into those emotions as truly and authentically as possible. And I mean, like I guess I wanted to touch on the chorus of that song. Is the last thing that I'll say is
Please.
Like, you know, at least the line of "Told me when it gets hard you ride for me, but the wheels fell off." The irony that, you know, somebody says you're a ride or die, you think about it as like a vehicle. You know, I think about it as like a car. When somebody says they're a ride or die, you know, and then just how brutal it is when somebody's a ride or die for you, but then the wheels actually fell off, and now you are completely left behind from, you know, where I'm going, and that's sad. But again, like it's just a reality of life, and especially when you go and you're really boldly going after something that you know, and in your heart that I need to do this. And that's how I felt this year. And I think that that's shown me the truest version of myself and the truest people who see me for me, not me as something that I can do for them, but me as, like, you know, they're wanting the best for me and having that be a really symbiotic thing. And
dude, friend breakups are harder than relationship breakups.
Honestly, man,
100% of the time.
It's so brutal, especially because you have this different level of history that isn't reliant on any, you know, like romantic attraction.
There's no there's no like attraction. It's just
that you're like, oh, okay, I can kind of make peace with it, and like I'll always feel that way, like attracted to this person in a relationship sense. But then with like a friend breakup, you're just like, wow, this was built entirely on our friendship and history, especially if you've been friends with this person for a long time. And so I think talking about that was really important. It was super cathartic for me.
It hit me,
and
I don't know what the fuck.
My water just opened, dude. But yeah, it was super cathartic for me, and
This song
when
hit
I finished
me.
it. Thanks, man. When I finished it, I was like, oh, this was something that I really needed to, one, get off my chest, but two, that is going to be important for somebody. And if that's you and you really resonated with this, thank you. And I am so glad that we were able to make that. And I think that opened the door for me to be able to talk about things that aren't just, romantic things.
Right.
Where I love that, and that's my bread and butter, and it's something that I think I'll never stop singing about.
Yeah.
But to be able to sing about some of these more challenging topics in my life is going to be really important to me, even more so than before we made this song moving forward.
Totally. Yeah. I'm glad. I mean, this whole project helped me see a lot of things differently, give me perspective on things, and think about a couple things differently. And I'm just glad that I could facilitate the whole project in this little room, and that I'm just so proud that we made all these songs, dude.
Me too, bro.
Yeah, because they going into it, I really had no idea what was gonna come out the other end. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think we both just were able to listen to what the music needed enough and communicate well enough to make that happen.
Yeah.
That it just turned out beautiful, and now we're fucking done.
Yes, sir. Yes,
now
sir.
we're done.
Yeah,
we're doing this podcast and we're
done. Finito.
Yeah,
everything.
We're just dropping it.
When by the time you're seeing this podcast, all of our songs are out.
Yep.
And all the visuals are out. This is always the end, and so really cool. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'm excited for what we do next. And
listen to the tape, and this whole pod will make sense.
Yes. Thank you so much. This has been another episode of the 5225 podcast, joined by my boy Spitt the Kid. I'm Djemini, and just thank you guys so much for watching and for listening to the song. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah.
Fire, dude. My fucking guy!
Nice. That felt good.
That was great, man. Yeah.
Felt better.
Yeah. No, me too. It felt like we really got in it in a more conversational way. I think that even regardless of the energy on the other one, I think in the one we had done before, it was a little too technical. Right. I think we got into the really nitty, because it was after mixing, so we were in the weeds of it, and so it was probably good that we didn't listen to them in full, because then we would have been nerding out over all these other things that
got more into the emotional aspect and the story of it. I feel like
me too.
Than the first time.
Yeah, dude, that was great.
Yeah, that felt great, dude.
Awesome, man.
Save as Gem Pod.
That's perfect.